The night sky was burning with fire from the battle. Ships had fallen, weapons had gone silent, but smoke and fear still covered the ground. Among the ruins of twisted metal and broken stone lay a strange figure. Her body was thin, her skin pale, with faint glowing lines, her breathing shallow like a whisper of wind. She was not human, she was alien, and she was dying. Soldiers walked past the ruins, guns in their hands, eyes sharp for danger. None dared to step close to the fallen alien. Some muttered, "Leave her. She is enemy. She is not our problem." Others spat on the ground. "She is beyond saving." But one man stopped. His name was Daniel, a young soldier with tired eyes but a heart that refused to turn cold. He looked at the alien woman, lying helpless, her glowing eyes half open, filled with fear. She did not look like a monster, not like the enemy his commanders described. She looked like someone clinging to life, someone alone. The medic near him shook his head. "Don't touch her blood is poison to us. One drop can burn through skin." Another soldier laughed bitterly. "If she dies, less trouble for us." But Daniel did not move away. He crouched beside her, his voice low. "Can you hear me?" The alien's lips trembled, a broken sound escaped her throat. Her language was strange, but her fear was clear. Her hand reached out, weak and shaking, not to attack, but to hold. Daniel's chest tightened. He saw not an enemy, but a life slipping away. The base commander arrived, his voice sharp like a blade. "Leave her, soldier. We cannot waste supplies on an enemy. She is finished." Daniel stood tall, his heart pounding. "With respect, sir, she is alive. We cannot just let her die." The commander glared. "You are a soldier, not a savior. Walk away." But Daniel's feet refused to move. The alien coughed, glowing blood staining the ground. The soldiers stepped back in fear, but Daniel pressed closer. He whispered, "Stay with me, you are not alone." For a moment her eyes locked on his, and in that fragile second, he saw something that shattered all walls of hate. He saw trust, the medics argued. "She will not last the night, her organs are failing, her body is not like ours." Daniel clenched his fists, anger boiling inside. There must be something we can do. But the answer was always the same. She is too different. Too dangerous, she is beyond saving. Daniel could not sleep that night. The memory of her eyes haunted him. Every breath she took echoed in his ears. Fragile, fading. He had seen many soldiers die, but none stayed with him like this, because for the first time, it was not war, not orders, not duty. It was simply one life asking for another to care. He walked to the med bay secretly, where the alien was kept under heavy guard. Inside, machines hummed. Doctors monitored her strange body. Her pulse was dropping, her glow fading. The lead doctor spoke to Daniel, his tone heavy. "She cannot be saved unless a miracle happens. She will die before sunrise." Daniel looked at the alien again, her face pale, her lips dry, her chest rising weakly, and in that moment something inside him refused to accept fate. He whispered to himself, "Maybe she is not one of us, but she deserves a chance." The doctor sighed. "A chance means sacrifice. No one here will risk it for her." Daniel stepped forward, his voice firm though his body shook. "Then I will." The doctor froze, eyes wide. "You don't know what you are saying, soldier." But Daniel nodded slowly. "Yes, I do. If no one helps, then she dies. I cannot let that happen." The room grew silent. The alien stirred weakly, her eyes half opening again. She saw him standing there, saw the fire in his eyes, and though she could not understand his words, she felt it, the promise he carried, the promise that she would not be left to die alone. That night was the true beginning, not of war, not of duty, but of something deeper. A fragile bond formed. In the ruins of battle, one human, one alien, both broken, both lost. But fate had placed them together, and the story of sacrifice had only just begun. The medbay was silent except for the steady beep of machines. Daniel stood beside the bed where the alien woman lay, her skin pale, her glowing lines fading with each passing minute. The doctors whispered among themselves, voices heavy with Hopelessness. "She will not make it through the night," one muttered. "She is too different, too broken." Another replied. Daniel's fists tightened, his heart pounding with anger and fear. He looked at the woman who had been left for dead by everyone else. She did not look like an enemy now, only like a soul slipping away. The doctor turned to him, shaking his head. "She needs more than medicine. Her organs are failing. Without replacement, she is gone." Daniel's breath caught. "What do you mean, replacement?" The doctor hesitated, then leaned closer, voice low. "Her kidneys are shutting down. The only way she survives is with a transplant. But there is no match. Not in our stores. Not in our labs." Daniel's eyes burned. "A kidney from a human?" The doctor gave a bitter laugh. "Yes, but no one would give such a gift to her. She is alien. Her body might even reject it. It could be pointless." Daniel looked again at the fragile figure on the bed. Her lips trembled, her chest rose and fell with painful effort. She was holding on, but barely, and in that moment Daniel's decision was clear. "Take mine," he said. The room froze. The doctors stared at him in shock. "You cannot be serious," the lead doctor hissed. "You are a soldier. You need both kidneys for your health, your strength. You risk your life for nothing for her." But Daniel's voice was steady. "She is not nothing. She is someone, and she deserves a chance." The commander stormed into the medbay. "I heard what you said, soldier. You will stand down at once." Daniel faced him, his chest heavy with defiance. "With respect, sir, I cannot." The commander's face grew red with fury. "You would betray your people for an enemy? For a creature that might kill you tomorrow?" Daniel shook his head slowly. "No, I would not betray my people. But I will not betray my own humanity either." The commander slammed his fist against the table. "You give that kidney, and you may never fight again. You will be weak, useless, do you understand?" Daniel met his eyes without fear. Better to be weak with honor than strong with shame. Silence filled the room. The doctors exchanged uneasy glances. Finally, the lead surgeon spoke. "If you truly wish this, we will prepare. But you must sign. It may cost you your life." Daniel took the pen without hesitation. His hand shook, but his heart did not. He signed his name, sealing his fate. The alien stirred on the bed, her glowing eyes opening weakly. She looked at Daniel, confused, sensing something had changed. Daniel leaned close, whispering, "Hold on, I will not let you go." She could not understand his words, but his voice reached her. For a moment, her trembling hand touched his, and in that touch was trust. The operating room was filled with harsh lights and sharp tools. Daniel lay on the table, his chest heavy, his breath slow. The doctors worked quickly, cutting, stitching, moving with practiced precision. Pain shot through him, even as he drifted on the edge of sleep. He thought of her face, of her eyes that begged for life, and he whispered in his mind, "Let her live. Take whatever you need from me, just let her live." On the other table, the alien woman's body was prepared. Her veins glowed faintly, her heart struggling. The surgeons worked desperately, attaching his kidney to her fragile system. Minutes passed like hours, the machines beeping louder, faster, then slower. One doctor muttered, "Her body is rejecting it." Another replied, Wait, the levels are stabilizing." Daniel could not see, but he felt his strength leaving him, his body weaker, emptier, but his soul strangely lighter, because he knew he had done what no one else dared. He had given a part of himself to someone who was supposed to be the enemy. The alien gasped suddenly, her chest rising strong. Her glow brightened, faint but steady. The doctors stared at the monitor in disbelief. "She is accepting it," one whispered. "She is alive." Daniel's vision blurred, his body heavy. The last thing he saw before slipping into unconsciousness was her hand twitching on the bed, searching for his. The last thing he heard was the doctor's voice, filled with awe. "She lives because of him." And as darkness took him, Daniel felt no regret, for in his sacrifice he had done something greater than war, greater than orders. He had saved a life, and that life, though alien, now carried a part of him forever. The room was silent except for the soft rhythm of machines. Morning light seeped through the small window, touching the alien woman's face with a faint glow. Her eyes fluttered, opening slowly, heavy with pain but alive. For the first time, since the battle, she was breathing strong, steady. She did not understand where she was. The ceiling was white, the walls strange, the smell of medicine in the air. She tried to sit up, but her body was weak, her chest aching, her hands touched. Her side, where pain burned deep inside. Something was different, something foreign pulsed within her. Memories rushed back. The battle, the fire, the darkness, her people gone, her body breaking, her hope lost. And then, eyes, human eyes, warm, determined, refusing to leave her. She remembered his hand, his voice, though his words were strange. He had stayed when all others turned away. A sound made her turn. Across the room on another bed lay Daniel, pale and weak. His skin was drained of color, sweat on his forehead. He looked broken, his breathing shallow. But he was alive. The aliens. Heart beat faster. She did not understand, but she felt it. Part of his life was inside her now. She pressed her hand to her side again, as if to protect what he had given. She whispered in her own language, her voice cracked but full of awe. Why you saved me? Daniel stirred, his eyes opening slowly, heavy with exhaustion. He turned his head and saw her watching him. His lips curved into the faintest smile. Because no one else would. He whispered, his voice barely a breath. And then his eyes closed again as sleep took him, her chest tightened. She had seen war, cruelty, betrayal, but never this. Never sacrifice from an enemy, never kindness without reason. She looked at him again, this fragile human who had given away a part of himself, and something stirred inside her, something her people had lost long ago. The doctors entered, surprised to find her awake. She is stable, one said, his voice full of relief. Another nodded. Her body accepted the transplant. The human kidney is working. They looked at Daniel, shaking their heads. But he may not recover quickly. He gave too much. The alien tried to speak, her words broken. Human, Daniel. He gave his life. The doctors exchanged glances, not sure how much she understood. But she did not need their answer. She already knew. Days passed slowly. The alien's strength grew, her glow returning little by little. She learned to stand, to walk, though weak at first. Every time she passed Daniel's bed, her eyes lingered. He slept most days, pale but breathing. One night, when the base was quiet, she stood by his side. She reached for his hand, holding it carefully. His skin was warm, his fingers rough from battle. She whispered softly, "You gave me your life, I will give you mine." Her people had taught her to distrust, to see humans only as enemies. But her heart told her something different now. The bond between them was more than survival, more than blood. It was a bridge between worlds, formed by sacrifice. When Daniel finally woke again, his body weak but his eyes clear, she was there. She helped him sit up, her movements gentle. He tried to speak, but his throat was dry. She lifted a cup of water, guiding it to his lips. He drank slowly, whispering, "You survived." She nodded, a small glow in her eyes. "Yes, because of you." Her words were broken, but her meaning was clear. Daniel smiled faintly, his strength fragile, but his spirit strong. "Then it was worth it," he said. The alien lowered her gaze, her chest heavy with emotion. She had no words in his language to tell him what she felt. But in her heart, she knew she could not walk away. She owed him more than life. She owed him her heart, her loyalty, her promise. Outside, soldiers whispered. Some feared her, some hated her, some wanted her gone. But Daniel's choice had already written a different story. He had bound them together, not by chains, but by sacrifice, and she would not forget. That night, as the stars stretched across the dark sky, she sat beside his bed. She placed her hand over her side, feeling the pulse of life that was once his. Then she touched his hand again, gently, carefully. "I will protect you," she whispered, her voice trembling but filled with promise. "You gave me your life. Now I give you mine." And so the awakening was not only hers, it was his too. For in saving her, Daniel had awakened something deeper. A bond that no war could break. A story that was only beginning. The days after the surgery moved slowly. Daniel grew stronger, though his body was still weak. The alien woman healed faster, her strange blood carrying the gift he had given her. Her glow returned, soft at first, then brighter, proof that life had taken root again. She spent her hours near him, silent but present. When he struggled to sit, she was the one who held his arm. When he could not reach for water, she lifted the cup to his lips. Other soldiers watched with suspicion, their eyes cold, their whispers sharp, but Daniel never turned her away. The alien began to learn his words. Slowly, carefully, she repeated after him. "Water," she said, holding the cup. Daniel smiled, weak but proud. Good. Every word she learned was a step across the bridge. Between them one night, the base lights flickered from a power storm outside. Daniel lay awake, restless. He turned his head and found her still sitting nearby, eyes glowing faint in the dark. "You don't sleep?" he asked softly. She shook, her head. "I watch." He frowned, confused. "Watch what?" She placed her hand over her chest where his kidney beat within her. "You gave life," she whispered, her words broken but her meaning strong. "I protect." Daniel felt a weight in his chest. No one had ever spoken to him like that. Not with such simple honesty. For a moment he forgot she was alien, forgot the war. All he saw was someone who carried a piece of him and wanted nothing more than to guard it. But the rest of the base did not share his feelings. Rumors spread quickly. "She's dangerous," one soldier muttered. "She's only waiting for her strength to return before she kills us all," another added. The commander's voice echoed, like thunder. "We cannot trust her, not after what her kind did to us." Daniel stood before them, his body still weak but his voice steady. "She is not what you think. She has done nothing to harm us." The commander narrowed his eyes. "You are blinded, soldier. You gave her your kidney and now you cannot see clearly, but the rest of us will not risk this base for one alien." The room grew tense, soldiers shifting, some agreeing, others uncertain. The alien stood silently at Daniel's side. She understood, little of their words, but she saw the anger in their eyes. For the first time since waking, she felt fear, not of dying, but of losing the place she had found. Her hand brushed against Daniel's arm, a silent plea for strength. He placed his hand over hers, steady and calm. "She is under my protection," he said firmly. The soldiers gasped, some in shock, some in anger. That night, Daniel's strength failed him and he collapsed back into bed. The alien stayed close, refusing to leave. She touched his forehead gently, her glow soft and warm. Her people had never believed in tenderness, never believed in loyalty outside of blood. But here, in the quiet hum of the med bay, she discovered both. Days turned into weeks, she learned more words, her voice growing clearer. She began to laugh softly at Daniel's attempts to teach her jokes. Her laughter surprised everyone. It was light, delicate, almost human. And slowly, against the weight of hatred around them, a bond grew, but bonds are tested in fire. One evening, alarms blared across the base. The lights turned red, soldiers rushing, weapons ready. Daniel tried to rise, but his body was not ready. The alien grabbed a blade from the table, her stance sharp and ready. Daniel shook his head weakly. "You don't have to." She looked back at him, eyes blazing. "I must," she said simply. When the threat passed, only a false alarm, the commander confronted her. "Where did you learn to fight like that? You are too dangerous to keep alive." Daniel stepped forward, his voice shaking with anger. "She fights to protect, not destroy." The commander's voice rose. Can you not see? She is binding you with tricks, with false loyalty. She is still enemy. The alien looked at Daniel then, her eyes steady. She spoke slowly, each word chosen with care. I am not enemy, she said. I am his. The room fell silent, the soldiers frozen by her words. Daniel's heart pounded in that moment. He understood the depth of her vow. Not only had his kidney saved her life, but his act had awakened something within her. People had forgotten, something more powerful than war or fear, trust. That night, when the base grew quiet again, Daniel whispered to her, "You don't have to stay with me, you can go. Find your own path." She shook her head firmly. "My path is here," she said, touching her chest. "Your life, inside me. My life. With you." Daniel closed his eyes, his heart heavy with emotion. In the ruins of war, in the shadow of death, something new had been born, not friendship alone, not duty, not gratitude, but a bond stronger than either had known, a bond that would be tested, but never broken. The great hall of the base was filled with noise. Soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder, officers at the front, their voices sharp and angry. At the center, under the harsh light, stood the alien woman, her hands bound though she did not resist. Her glowing eyes moved across the room, but they always came back to one face. Daniel, weak but standing, his body still fragile, his heart steady. The commander's voice cut through the noise. "This alien must face justice," he declared. "She belongs to a species that attacked our colonies, that burned our homes, that killed our people." He pointed at her, his hand shaking with fury. "She may look weak now, but she is danger itself. And if we let her live, more humans will die." The crowd murmured in agreement. Some shouted, "Send her away." Others cried, "End her now." The alien lowered her head, not in shame, but in silence. She did not know their words, but she felt the hate in their voices. For the first time since she had awakened, she wondered if her life was truly hers to keep. Daniel stepped forward, his voice strained but strong. "She is not guilty of their crimes," he said. "She was left behind in the ruins, abandoned, dying. She was not part of the attack." The commander laughed bitterly. "And how do you know this, soldier? Did she confess her innocence to you in some dream?" Daniel's fists clenched. "I know because I was there. I saw her. I looked into her eyes and I saw fear, not hatred." The hall erupted again, some scoffing, others whispering. One officer stepped out holding a tablet filled with records. "We have proof her species fought against us. The blood of our dead is on their hands." Daniel turned to the crowd, his voice breaking with emotion. "You speak of her species, but I speak of her, this one life, this one woman, who has done nothing to harm us." The alien lifted her head, slowly, her eyes glowing brighter. Her voice was quiet but clear. "I am not enemy," she said, her broken words echoing in the silence that followed. The soldiers stared, shocked that she spoke at all. The commander sneered. "Words are easy, but trust is not." Daniel's strength wavered, his body trembling, but he took another step, standing between her and the crowd. "She carries part of me now," he said firmly. "My kidney beats inside her. If you end her, you end me too." The room fell. Still. Gasps echoed against the walls, disbelief spreading like fire. The commander's face darkened. "You would use your sacrifice to shield her?" Daniel nodded without hesitation. "Yes, because my life is already inside hers. Her survival is tied to mine." The alien's chest tightened, her glowing veins brightening with emotion she did not fully understand. She placed her hand over her side, where the gift lived. Then she stepped forward, her chains clinking softly. "If I die," she said slowly, her voice trembling, but strong, "a part of him dies too." The silence that followed was heavy. Even the angriest soldiers found no words. For the first time they saw her not as an enemy, but as a living bond to one of their own. The commander struggled to answer, his face red with frustration. She is still dangerous, still one of them. But his words no longer carried the Same weight. Too many eyes now watched Daniel, watched the alien, saw the truth written in their stance together. The trial dragged on through the day, voices arguing, records read aloud, accusations thrown. Yet every time Daniel rose to defend her, he spoke of her silence when others cursed her, of her watchful eyes when he slept, of her vow to protect him. She had every chance to harm me, but instead she saved me, he said. She has given me no reason to doubt her, only reasons to trust. By the end, the hall was divided. Some still called for her death, others demanded mercy. The commander, cornered by the shift in voices, slammed his hand on the table. Very well, he growled. She may live but under guard, and any mistake will be her last. The alien's chains were removed, her wrists free again. She turned to Daniel, her eyes glowing faintly. Her lips formed words she had learned with effort. Thank you, she whispered. Daniel smiled, though his body ached from the long fight. You don't owe me thanks, he said softly. You owe me nothing but your truth. As the hall emptied, the commander watched them with cold eyes. His voice, low, spoken only to himself. This bond will destroy us. But Daniel and the alien did not hear. They only felt the fragile victory they had won together. That night, under the quiet hum of the medbay, she sat beside him once more. She placed her hand over her side, feeling the steady beat of his gift. Her other hand rested over his, gentle and certain. You saved me, she whispered. I will never let them take you. And so the trial ended not with chains, not with death, but with a vow born of sacrifice, sharpened in fire and sealed by trust. Their bond had survived judgment, but the shadow of betrayal was still waiting, for not everyone in the base could accept what had begun. The base was quiet that night. Most soldiers slept, the halls dimly lit by the cold blue glow of security lights. Daniel lay in his bed, still, weak from the trial, but his spirit calmer. The alien woman sat beside him as always, her eyes watching the door, her body alert. She had promised to protect him, and she never broke her word. But outside the medbay, shadows moved. 3 soldiers walked silently, weapons in their hands, their faces hard with hate. They were not here under orders. They were here under anger. To them, Daniel had betrayed humanity by giving his life to an alien. To them, she was still an enemy, no matter what the trial had said. Inside, the alien felt something shift in the air. Her people had called it instinct, the ability to sense danger. In silence, she rose slowly, her glowing eyes narrowing. Danger, she whispered. Daniel opened his eyes weakly, confusion on his face. What do you mean? But before she could answer, the door slammed open. The traitors stormed in, guns raised. One shouted, "Step away from him." Another spat on the floor. "We end this tonight, both of you." Daniel tried to sit up, but pain held him down. The alien moved in front of him, her body the only shield he had. "She dies first," one soldier hissed, aiming his weapon. But before he could fire, she launched forward, faster than they expected. The blade she had taken days before flashed. In her hand, she struck the gun aside, the shot burning into the wall instead of Daniel's chest. The fight had begun. The soldiers cursed, swinging their weapons. She ducked low, her glowing veins brightening as adrenaline surged. Her body, once weak, now moved with fierce strength. She slashed at one man's arm, forcing him to drop his weapon. Another soldier struck her from behind, the blow sending her crashing into the wall. Daniel shouted, his voice raw, "Stop this! She's not your enemy." But they did not hear, their rage louder than reason. The alien pulled herself up, blood glowing at her side, her breath sharp with pain. Yet she stood tall, placing herself between Daniel and death again. A soldier charged, knife in hand. She caught his wrist, twisting with brutal force. The knife clattered to the floor, but another soldier's gun fired, the shot grazing her shoulder, her glow flickering. Still she did not fall, still she fought. One traitor grabbed Daniel by the collar, pulling him from the bed. "We should end him too, he's already poisoned by her." Daniel struggled weakly, his fists striking without strength. The alien roared, a sound fierce and broken. She lunged, tackling the soldier to the ground, her blade pressed to his throat, her glowing eyes burning with fury. "Touch him again," she hissed in broken words, "and you die." The room went silent for a heartbeat. Then boots thundered in the hallway, reinforcements, rushing in after hearing the gunfire. The traitors froze, their plan broken, their courage fading. The commander himself entered, his eyes narrowing as he took in the scene. Weapons on the floor, blood on the walls, the alien standing tall over. "The traitor with fire in her eyes, what is this?" he demanded. The alien lowered the blade slowly, stepping back. She pointed to Daniel, still trembling in pain. "Protect," she said simply, her voice steady despite the blood dripping from her wounds. Daniel forced himself to speak, his voice hoarse. "They came to kill her and me too." The commander's face darkened. He ordered the traitors seized, dragged away in chains. But as they were pulled out, one shouted back, "This is not over. She will kill us all one day." The words echoed long after they were gone. Daniel slumped against the bed, his chest heavy. The alien knelt beside him, her hands shaking. He looked at her wounds, deep, glowing, painful, and his heart ached. "You nearly died for me again," he whispered. She met his gaze, her voice trembling but fierce. "I promised, I keep—" The commander studied her with cold eyes. He saw not just an alien but a fighter, one who had risked her life again for a human, yet doubt still lingered in his mind. "This bond will break us," he muttered under his breath, but deep inside, even he knew what he had seen. Loyalty carved in blood. That night when the medbay was quiet again, Daniel reached for her hand. She took it gently, her touch warm despite her pain. "You don't have to protect me," he whispered. She shook her head firmly. "I do," she said, "because you gave life. I give mine." Daniel closed his eyes, exhaustion pulling at him, but he felt safe, even with enemies still around them. For he knew she would never leave his side, never let him fall. And in her glowing eyes a new fire had been lit. Not just survival, but devotion. Not just protection, but love waiting to be spoken. The betrayal had failed, but it had proven one truth beyond doubt, that she was not his burden, not his enemy. She was his shield, his bond, his heart in another body. And together they were stronger than the hate that surrounded them. The night was heavy with silence. The attack had ended. The traitors locked away. But the base still trembled with fear. Daniel rested in the med bay, his body weak but alive. Beside him sat the alien woman, her wounds glowing faint but healing. She had saved him again, and the price was written on every scar across her skin. Daniel tried to speak, his voice rough. "You should rest," he whispered, but she shook her head, her eyes fixed on him. "No, I stay," she said. Her words were simple, but the weight behind them was stronger than steel. As the hours passed, he drifted into uneasy sleep, and in his dreams he saw her, standing against the fire, shielding him again and again. When he woke, she was still there, her hand resting gently over his. He wondered if she would ever let go, and he realized he did not want her to. The commander entered quietly, his face shadowed with thought. "You know what they will say," he told Daniel. "They will not stop. More will come. As long as she stays, you are both in danger." Daniel met his gaze, his voice soft but unyielding. "Then let them come, because I will not send her away." The commander looked at the alien, her glowing eyes watching him with steady defiance. For the first time, he saw something more than survival in her expression. He saw devotion, fierce and unbreakable. With a sigh, he turned away. "Then her fate is yours to carry," he said, and he left them in silence. Days passed. Daniel's strength slowly returned, though his body would never be the same. The alien healed as well, her glow brighter than ever. The soldiers around them still whispered, still doubted, but none dared touch her again. Her courage in the ambush had silenced many. One evening, Daniel sat outside under the stars, the alien beside him. The sky stretched wide, endless, filled with light from countless worlds. He spoke softly, his voice touched with wonder. "All My life I was told your kind were monsters, but when I look at you, I don't see an enemy. She turned to him, her eyes glowing brighter than the stars. What? You see? She asked. Daniel's chest tightened. I see someone who gave everything to protect me, he whispered. I see someone who carries part of me inside her, but who gave me far more in return. The alien's lips trembled, her heart racing with words she did not know how to speak. At last, she placed her hand over her chest, where his kidney beat within her. Then she moved her hand to her heart, glowing faintly beneath her skin. My heart, she whispered. It is yours. Daniel's breath caught. He felt the truth in her words, simple but unshakable. She had repaid his sacrifice not with duty, not with debt, but with love. And in that moment the war between their worlds seemed far away. What mattered was only the bond between them, fragile yet eternal. But fate is never kind for long. The base alarm wailed suddenly, sharp and loud. Daniel rose with difficulty, the alien pulling him to his feet. Another attack? He asked. Her eyes narrowed, her body ready. Yes, she whispered. Explosions rocked the ground. The enemy had returned at last, not traitors this time, but ships from the skies. The base shook, soldiers shouting, weapons firing. Daniel staggered, his body too weak for war. But the alien caught him, steadying him with her strength. Stay, she told him. But he shook his head. No, I fight with you. They ran into the chaos together. Blasts of fire tore through the air, walls crumbling, soldiers falling. The alien fought with fierce grace, her blade cutting through the dark. Daniel fired what shots he could, his body screaming in pain but his heart refusing to give up. Together they stood back to back, surrounded by death. A blast tore through the wall, striking near them. Daniel was thrown aside, his head spinning. The alien shielded him with her body, the explosion burning across her chest. She fell to her knees, blood glowing brightly. Daniel crawled to her, panic in his voice. No, stay with me, don't you leave me now. She looked at him, her breath weak. Her hand found his, pressing it over her chest. You gave me life, she whispered. Now, I give you heart. Her glow flickered, fading. Daniel held her tightly, tears burning his eyes. No, don't say goodbye. Don't give up, please. The battlefield around them blurred, soldiers shouting, fire raging, but in that moment, only the two of them existed. Her lips curved into a faint smile. You saved me. Now I save you, she said. Her strength faltered, but her eyes never left his. Then, against all odds, her glow surged again, brighter than before. Her body refused to let go, her heart beating wildly. Not for herself, but for him, Daniel felt it. The rhythm of his kidney inside her, joined with the rhythm of her heart. Two lives, two worlds, bound together, refusing to break. The battle raged on, but they stood again, side by side. The alien's wounds glowed, but her spirit blazed. Stronger than any fire, Daniel's body was weak, but his heart was no longer alone. Together they pushed back against the storm, not human, not alien, but something greater. And when the night ended, when silence finally fell over the ruined base, they stood together among the survivors. The story had already spread. One human who gave his kidney, one alien who gave her heart. Not just a tale of war, but of sacrifice, trust, and love. A story that would never be forgotten.